welcome back to Dear Ashley Grace. Thank you all so much for viewing this video today. If you have not already, go ahead and please subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure that you like this video and make sure you press the post notification bell so you know when I post videos next. So today I'm going to be discussing preference versus prejudice as it relates to racial preference when dating. It's amazing to me that we're still having this conversation in 2022, but here we are. So what brings me to this topic is I recently saw a clip from a podcast where this Muslim man and this African man were both discussing their preference in dating women and them both not wanting to date black women, which is fine. That's their preference. However, they then go on to say that if anybody else wants to date a bunch of Shaniquas and night riders, then that's up to them. That is where the prejudice comes in. So I just wanted to give a clear, defined definition between the two of preference and prejudice, and also discuss where does one's preference come from when it comes to dating. So first thing first, if you're new to the channel, I like to take notes. So if you see me look away, that's what I'm doing. I'm looking at my notes. So first, I want to give a clear definition for both preference and prejudice. So preference is a greater liking for one alternative over another or others. Okay, so that is what preference is. Prejudice is dislike, hostility, or unjust behavior deriving from unfounded opinions. So that is what prejudice is. All right. So now that we got that out the way, let's have a deeper conversation. So when people go into their dating preference, especially dating preference when it comes to ethnicity, I think that it's important to know where the rooting of their preference comes from. Now, if your preference comes from your upbringing, how you were treated, and the people who were attracted to you, that's one thing. But if your preference is coming from a place of hate and hostility, then that is what we call prejudice. I think that people have difficulty differentiating the two. As soon as you say, I date this particular type of person because it is my preference, but then go on to date that type of person and their ethnicity, that's a problem. When you're bashing their ethnicity, their skin tone, their hair texture, which is texturism, which is a whole nother video, you know, that is prejudice, and that is where the issue comes in for me. I think people should be able to date whomever they want, but you have to ask yourself the question of, why is it that I only want to date this certain type of person? And where does that come from for me? For instance, I'll speak on myself. I personally like to date black men. The reason why I prefer to date black men is because I was raised by a black man. The first man to ever love me was a black man. When I think of men in my life, my protectors, they are black men. So my preference comes from love. My preference comes from nurturing. My preference comes from positivity, not anything negative or anything that is hostile towards another ethnicity. Now, with that being said, just because that is my preference, does that mean that you will never see me date someone that is outside of my ethnicity? Because that is the furthest thing from the truth, right? Because I don't have a hate or disdain for other ethnicities. It's just that within my life, that is whom I esteem, that is who I have attracted, and those are who are attracted to me until that changes otherwise. Now, when we speak on prejudice, we speak on people who go outside of themselves and go outside of their way to not date someone of the same ethnicity or make up as them because of some negative experience in their life. Usually, more often than not, it is self-hate as to why they do not want to date someone who looks like them. You have black men in particular who don't want to date other black women because of how they see themselves and because of how other people view them, especially darker skinned black men. With that being said, they use that to project their insecurities off on to other people, particularly other black women. And that is where their preference comes in, because they've dealt with negative thoughts and they've dealt with negative interactions with other people when it comes to their appearance. And so because of that, they want to disassociate themselves with anything that is black or darker skin or anything that is negative towards what they look like. So they go towards lighter skinned black women, or not even black women at all, white women, non-black women, etc. So when you get into those conversations of where the hostility that you have towards dating a certain type of person outweighs the actual preference that you say that you have, that's a problem. That brings on more negativity, hate, hostility, possibly violence towards the people that you say that you don't want to date. And that's an issue. I think if people would understand the difference between preference and prejudice, then they would have a better way of deciphering the good versus the bad, in a sense, for lack of better terms, the good versus the bad. Because people lean on that word preference to defend the negative things that they say about other people, which is wrong. Like I said, you can date whoever you want to date, but you have to remember that there's a certain line that you should not be able to cross when it comes to addressing people that you don't particularly date. There are also lighter skinned black women who would prefer to date darker skinned black men because of the stereotypes, some negative and some positive, that comes with dating black or darker skinned black men. However, they don't want the physical attributes of the skin tone and sometimes hair textures that come with dating a black man or a darker skinned black man. So this goes both ways. It's not just on black men, but there's also some effects to that comes with it being with black women as well, with their preferences. Date who you want. Prefer who you want. But don't disrespect someone else because you haven't dealt with your own insecurities. Thank you all so much again for watching this video. Once again, if you have not already, please go ahead and like this video. Also, make sure that you subscribe to the channel and make sure that you press that post notification bell so you know when I post videos next. Thank y'all so much for watching. Bye.